Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to discuss today the developmental stage across lifespan. We need a developmental stage across lifespan to better understand the learning capacity of our patient from birth until elderly so that we could give appropriate nursing care plan for them and based on their cognitive level and developmental stage. So in Paget stage of cognitive development, there are 4 stages. Sensorimotor stage from birth to second year. Preoperational stage 2 to 7 years old. Concrete operational stage 7 to 11 years old. And formal operational stage 12 and up. These stages has his own characteristic, has his own developmental phenomenon, and has his own developmental characteristics. So what are Paget's stages of development and how are they used? Jean Piaget was a Swiss developmental psychologist who studied children in the early 20th century. His theory of intellectual or cognitive development, published in 1936, is still used today in some branches of education and psychology. It focuses on children from birth through adolescence and characterizes different stages of development including language, morals, memory, and reasoning. Every person who is born don't have any language, don't have any words from them. Everyone is tabula rasa, nothing. So empty. Our mind is also empty and we don't have any knowledge at all. But as we grow older, our language or words will increase. First, when we were young, when we were children, we don't speak. Okay, we only create sounds. But as we grow, we learn to say papa, mama, kuya, ate. And as we grow until 2 years old, we learn some simple words until we grow old. So we have a complete words or complete sentence that's being developed. We can communicate. And even morals. Even young children or infants don't know the different morals, right or wrong, positive or negative. They don't know such things until such time of having a good age or 12 or 18. We know already what is right and wrong, what is good and bad. And our memory is also growing as we grow old. We could recall many things, okay? And our reasoning also improve. And that is brought about by intellectual or cognitive development. In these pictures, you will see from infancy to elderly. And each level of development has its own characteristics, has its own learning outcomes, has its own capacity and task to improve and to develop. Then Paget made several assumptions about children while developing his theory. One of these is children build their own knowledge based on their experience. We all know that children learn through their experience, through their exploration. As in the family, we could see the difference of each brother and sister. So no one is totally similar to each other. Some are very naughty, some are not, some are good follower, some are not. It is because it is based on their experience. Some are cute, some are not. Some are helpful, some is not, and some are not friendly, and some of your brother and sister is not friendly. Children learn things on their own without influence from adults or older children. It is because based on their experience, based on what's being motivated when they were young, that leads them to learn, to influence others, and to participate or to belong to anyone. So it is innate to human nature, to any children, to learn by their own. Then children are motivated to learn by nature. They don't need rewards as motivation. Each one, each one of us, when we were children, has his own motivation, has his own interest. That's why you could not inculcate or could not infuse to someone what to do, what to take, and what to aspire for. Because each one has his own mind, each one has his own heart, each one has his own motivation, concept, or perception. That's why learning is by nature. Then there are 4 stages in all, as I mentioned earlier: sensorimotor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, formal operational stage. All of them has a different characteristic as we grow old. So the stages cover range of age from birth to 2 years old to young adult. And the Piaget stages are specific and marked by important characteristic of thought processes. They also include goals children should achieve as they move through the given stage. So there is succession and chronological arrangement of what to be achieved during the process. So here is the Piaget's theory and current thinking. The Piaget's stages of cognitive development. So typical age range is birth to nearly 2 years old. So it is the sensory motor. That is the description of stage. So in sensory motor, children experiencing the world through senses and action, looking, touching, mounting, and grasping. So the 5 senses of human person only evolves during birth to 2 years old. The developmental phenomena is objective permanence and stranger anxiety. As we all know that if the child is with his mother, he usually he did not come to with other stranger because her mother is her object permanence. Madalang ang bata na sumasama sa ibang tao sa ganitong edad because they cling to their mother as their object of trust. Kaya or to anybody or siblings or family members, doon lang sila nagkikling, doon lang sila nagpapakarga. But seldom to children na sumama sa ibang tao. Okay? But common developmental phenomena is the stranger anxiety. They don't want to go with other people. Next is 2 to 6 or 7 years old. This is the pre-operational stages. So, representing things with words and images. Use intuitive rather than logical reasoning. Then, the developmental phenomena is pretend play, egocentrism, and language development. When you say pretend play, this is common at this age, 2 to 6 or 7 years old. The children have their own imaginary friends. They talk alone with them, with their imaginary friend. And they are egocentrism, meaning they want to be the center of attraction. During this age, what they need, they want. Okay? They are, ang tawag dito, they are demanding during this stage. So language development increase. So instead of papa, mama, they can identify the different objects and their names. Next, about 7 to 11 years old, this is the concrete operational stage. So thinking logically about concrete events, grasping concrete analogies, and performing arithmetical operation. Conservation, the developmental phenomena is conservation, mathematical transformation. In this stage, children knows already the mathematical transformation or concentration. They know what are the things belong to them and the things that is not for them. So if some are missing or not in their uh, uh, recognized property, they subject it for finding, looking for it. Kaya yung mga ganitong edad ay nasinop sila sa kanilang mga bagay at materials, lalo na doon sa kanilang mga laruan. They don't want to those materials na kanila ay kunin o agawin ni inuman. Okay, seldom sa ganitong edad that they are giving or sharing their things. Not unless they already have experienced the goodness of sharing. But common is next, about 12 through adulthood, formal operational stage, anyone can do abstract reasoning. Since they are in formal operational, these stages are probably in the high school or grade 6 level, in which they could reason out, okay, about different abstract. They can explain it well and potentially know the whys, where, and how. And they are potentially mature enough to better understand the world around them. Next, these are the characteristics and goal of the different stage according to age and according to stage made by Piaget in the uh, cognitive development. So number one is sensorimotor. The characteristic is motor activity without use of symbols. All things learned are based on experience or trial and error. So objective, the goal is object permanence. So in this stage, uh, they use symbols as part of their learning process. Okay. Then pre-operational, 2 to 7 years old, development of language, memory, and imagination. Intelligence is both egocentric and intuitive. So they increase in number of vocabulary words, even in memory. So in this stage, you can find children who could memorize the different flags, uh, different nations, countries, okay, even the alphabets, okay, numbers, okay, and you could advise to memorize multiple tables, okay. Then they are fun about symbolic thoughts. That's why they could adjust to memorize numbers, letters, okay, and drawings of flags. Okay, they could recognize because that is the focus of this stage, pre-operational. Concrete operational, 7 to 11 years old, more logical and methodological manipulations of symbols, less egocentric, more aware of the outside world and events. So, if the 2 to 7 is egocentric, The concrete operational is less egocentric. They are open now to explore the world around them and the events around them. So their thoughts are operational. That's why they explore things surrounding them and try to better understand what's happening, uh, what is the idea, what are the knowledge that they could acquire or learning experience. And part of this is we need to do the safety of this age because they are trying to find many things, they're exploring surrounding their environment, and it's danger if we did not provide them rules to avoid accidents or any things that might happen to them. So we need to provide rules and guides them as much as possible, not to separate our eyes on them. So next is formal operational. This is adolescence to adult at this your level or stage. Use of symbols to relate to abstract concept, able to make hypotheses and grasp abstract concept and relationship. So abstract reasoning is uh, the best things that could ever happen to person in formal operational. They could reason out, they could explain properly about the use of symbols, the things around them, the different concept of what happening about relationship. Okay, they could easily determine and figure out what is ideal, acceptable, and standards. So here, the sensory motor. The sensory motor stage cover children aged to 18 to 24 years old. So imagine this cute little baby. So he used sensory motor in order to learn. So he is focusing on motor and the use of symbols. So imagine that the child learned by putting each cubes one by one to go up on the top, and if it falls he will repeat it again until such time that he develop the formation of single pile cube going up like tower. Then the main goal of this stage is establishing an understanding of object permanence. In other words, knowing that an object still exists even if you can't see it or hidden. So even they don't see the object, it still exists in their mind. Even they don't see it as part of their imagination of things. Next is the preoperational stage. The preoperational stage can be seen in children age 2 to 7. Memory and imagination are developing. Children at this age are egocentric, which means they have difficulty in thinking outside of their own viewpoints. So, meaning they focus only on themselves, okay, as a center of attraction. So, you take note that in this PowerPoint, I have made or create lines for the lines for every word, or put an emphasis to every word so that it will be utilized as the keywords for you to better understand or to remember the different meaning. So the main achievement of this stage is being able to attach meaning to object with language. Just imagine this child is playing with her stuffed toys. Okay, sometimes kids provide names on their stuffed toys as form of symbolic. Okay. Next, here are the sensory stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal stage. Each one has its own characteristic. Like in sensory stage, the child begins to interest with environment. That's why it's common to all children. The parents are putting toys with multiple colors to recognize things. okay, to catch their eyes and for them to use their sensory motors because when they saw attractive colors, they move and play with them. In pre-operational stage, the child begins to present the world symbolically. They use symbols as they can use also uh, what you call this, the imaginary friends. And concrete operational stage, the child learns rules such as conservation. Okay? So, in conservation, they uh, they conserve materials to reserve for themselves. Then, a formal operational stage, the adolescents have a concrete think about the future and can transcend situation and events. So, this is the characteristic of the formal operational stage. Uh, Next, these are another explanation for you to have a better understanding of each stages, and that would be your assignment to read such part. Next, in concrete operational, children are much less egocentric as I mentioned. So the main goal of this stage is for child to start working things outside their head. So this is called operational thought, and it's allow kids to solve problems without physically encounter things in the real world. Then at this stage, the child can solve simple problems using their head, their brain, their mind. That's why you can see in more television that there are brilliant children who can calculate even without calculator, even without writing, okay, by just using their mind. Okay. Then, formal operational, the children 11 years old and older falls into Piaget's formal operational stage. A milestone of this period is using symbols to understand abstract concepts. Not only that, but the only child and adult can also think about multiple variables and come up with hypotheses based on previous knowledge. So, as a result of this formal operational, many people can create things because of previous knowledge. Example, those who invented cell phones nowadays, all of them are based on previous knowledge. They come up to create new things. Okay? Then Paget's believe that people of all ages develop intellectually. But he also believed that once a person reaches the formal operational stage, it's more about building upon knowledge, not changing how it is acquired or understood. So meaning everyone can be a good student with a better knowledge if he allow or involve himself to develop intellectually. So only people who are engaged more in developing their knowledge can acquire a better record of their learning. That's why I advise you to follow clinical instructor in order to come up to become a better nurse. That's why you have a clinical instructor to guide you properly in acquiring knowledge, procedures, and every information needed to become a better nurse someday. If you did not follow those advice or you did not focus on the learning being provided to you by your professor, by your clinical instructor, then your knowledge or intellect will not be developed properly. So by now, since you are level 1, I want you to study more so that you become a better and effective nurse someday. There is nothing waste when you try. Walang mawawala sa atin kung tayo mag-aaral na mabuti. Pero kung tayo mag-aaral na mabuti, mas malaki ang maidulot natin sa ating performance, sa ating grade. Okay? If you really aspire to become a better nurse, a future nurse, a professional nurse someday, then why not do it on the right track, on the right way? That's why focus on your study. Okay? Now is the time to focus on your study so that you could build upon knowledge. Okay? So that you could acquire more knowledge, more experience, and more grades or better future. Now, let's proceed with, here are other figures to explain better the sensorimotor, preoperational, concrete, and formal operational stage. So its level are increasing. The same thing with our learning in nursing. That's why there is level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So in level 1, that is basic and fundamentals nursing being given to you. Like a child, you start from the beginning. That's why at this level, you must improve your knowledge in nursing. Next, according to Piaget, there is schema, assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. There are a variety of terms Piaget used in his theory to explain cognitive development and how it is achieved at different stages. We, as a nurse, we need to better understand the development stage of learning so that we'll be able to provide appropriate knowledge to our patient when we are conducting health teaching, when we are rendering nursing management for different needs of the patient. Example, if the patient need proper cleaning of wounds and your patient is child about 7 years old to 10 years old, then you will put down your level to the level of the child so that the child could understand better what you are trying to teach. That's why we need to study these different stages of development across lifespan. Then, what now is the schema, sorry. Schema is a term he used to represent the building blocks of knowledge. You may think of schemas as different index cards inside the brain. Each one informs the individual on how to react to new information or situation. It means anyone could learn or can acquire knowledge, and this knowledge can be utilized again on the next event or any situation that comes to the personal events of each person. So let's provide an example about schema. So for example, a picture a person visiting the grocery store to buy milk. In this event, the schema is mentally stored pattern of behavior that can be applied to this situation. When you're buying a milk, then you know the step-by-step procedure to buy a milk. So in here, the person remembers how to go through the aisles or the alley or the corridor, find the milk, select the prepared kind, and then pay to the register. So those are the step-by-step in order to get or to buy milk from the store. Whenever the person is tasked with getting milk, this particular script or schema is recalled from memory. Kung bibili ka uli ng gatas, so yung step na yun ang gagawin mo. The same thing, if you are being taught to do hand washing properly, because when we are young, we know already how to do hand washing in our own way. But when you come to nursing, the clinical instructor teach you the proper way of cleaning your hands. Okay, some of you will be taught how to sing. You're singing while doing the hand washing. And when you were advised, when you are now in level 2 or level 3, when you are advised to do hand washing, you will perform the hand washing taught to you or taught to you during your first level. Okay? And the same thing, that is what we call is schema. Here is the example of schema theory. So, with your five senses, when you sense something, example, you see a dog, and you know a dog can bite. And if you run, okay, if that is your recorded in your mind, that if you run, the dog will, uh, what do you call this, will run to you. So I pay attention to the physical situation, your stimulus, and a neutral activation. So probably will be stand for a seconds to think about what you will do in case the dog will run to you. So if you recall information from episodic or semantic memory, or if you have a previous experience that the dog will run to you, then you will run. But if you have previous memory that when you stop running, the dog will not run to you. He will just bark. Okay? So, ganon. So, kailangan mo yung previous episode o memory. But if there is no memory or previous experience, so ang tendency mo talaga ay tumakbo. Pero kung wala kang previous experience or naranasan mo na pag hindi ka tumakbo, hindi ka habulin ng aso, then what is the most acceptable decision ay kung ano yung na-experience mo. Then, doon ka lang magkakaroon ng activation or the application of adequate schema. And the dog will run if you run, but if you did not run, the dog will just bark to you. Then it will be followed by your response. Depende sa iyo kung ikay tatakbo, kakadil, uupo, okay? Or ikaw ay babatok, o ikaw ang babatok dun sa aso, etc. Depending on your reaction. Okay, malinaw po. Then next, there are other important terms in this Piaget's cognitive development. There is assimilation. Assimilation is using an existing schema and applying it to a new situation or object. It means if you have a previous existing experience or schema, then you will apply it again if that is acceptable or positive, or if there is a good output on those experiences. Now, in accommodation is a changing approach when an existing schema doesn't work in a particular situation. And this is called accommodation. There are cases in our life that some of our techniques or strategy doesn't work, but it works before. But in the second approach, it doesn't work. Then, there is a tendency for you to change your approach. Okay? Example, when you are asking your parents when you were young to ask for food or anything, okay? So, what you do is to do hyper tantrum. Do you know hyper tantrum? When kapag hindi ka nabigyan ng bagay na gusto mo, nag-aangal ka o nagliligalig ka. So, ang tendency ng parents mo para mapatahan ka, bibigay niya yung gusto niya. Pero as you grow older, kapag ginawa mo na yun uli, hindi na yun nagiging effective. So, ang tendency mo, gagawa ka ng ibang paraan to catch the attention of your parents. But it doesn't work. Kapag ikaw ay nag-hyper tantrum sa iyong edad sa ngayon, mas lalo kang hindi papansinin kasi hindi na bagay sa iyo. Okay? Na ikaw ay nagmamaktol pa. But there are cases at your age, kayo ay nagmamaktol pa. Ibig sabihin, you are still on the age of 7 or 3 years old ang ugali mo. Okay, you did not improve. Ibig sabihin, batang isip ka pa, batang asal. And it must be changed. Okay, sino sa inyo ang nagtatantrum pa? Okay. Next is equilibration. Is the driving force that moves all development forward. Piaget didn't believe that developmental progress steadily. Instead, it is moved in leaps and bounds according to experience. So, ang development daw is not one direction forward. It is up and down based on the progress of experiences. So, kaya, merong naiiwanan, merong nag-a-advance. Okay, na kahit ngayong edad mo pa ngayon, if you are 18 and yet you are doing tantrums, it means you're not still improving in the development of your cognitive behavior or in your behavioral development. So that's why you could assess yourself if you really improve in the patterns of cognitive development. Next, how can healthcare provider use these schemas? Nurse, parents, teachers can build a child various schemas to promote learning and development throughout the stage. This can be achieved by giving children plenty of exposure to the outside world, being exposed to a variety of learning by doing experiences from young age may help build up those external index cards. So it means that we as healthcare provider must allow our patient to learn by doing their experiences. That's why in nursing, it's necessary to perform return demonstration because during return demonstration, the student nurse will be able to identify their mistakes when doing it, what is being neglected, what is lacking in the performance of return demonstration. So everyone can learn from their mistakes. Then, as children get older, it's about broadening the experiences and applying them to new, even hypothetical situations. So, when you grow old or when you increase your knowledge in nursing, if you are being taught to do this in nursing using the different step by step, example in hand washing, example in assessing the patient's skin, hair and nails, when you further your development in knowledge in nursing, those application will be improved further. So hindi ka lang nananatili doon sa natutunan mo ngayon sa nursing, but then when you are professional na, there are many add-ons to better improve those process. That's why you as a nurse must improve hypothetically in every situation, in every learning procedures, in every concept in the knowledge of nursing. So like this, okay, each child has his own thoughts, okay, has his own learning stages and development. Not all child are similar. The same thing with nursing students. You are not all similar in acquiring knowledge. You are not similar in all your characteristics because everyone is a unique individual and you have a unique experience and you have a unique perspective in life. You have a unique task, okay, different family, unique family. Okay, that's why each one of us has a different development in our own. How to apply Paget stage to the learning and development. In here, so how exact can Paget stage be applied to education? At the root, it is about recognizing the stage child is currently and catering to the developmental level. So it's very important that we know the level of each child according to their age and according to the stages created by Piaget. The nurses, teacher, parents can help by providing children with different experiences or way to explore experiment with their environments. It's through their experiences that children may gain understanding or different concept in hands-on way. So if we are trying to teach children through their experience, and if it's not possible, then we should experiment or explore other means to let them know the development they need per level. For young children entering preschool or kindergarten, Piaget's theories align more with play-based school program or environments where kids are open opportunities for trials and error and interaction with the real world. Piaget's philosophy can be incorporated into any educational program. So this program is still existing today and being applied to many preschool. And it's also applicable in nursing. That's why we allow students to experience the procedure, and we as a teacher help them and guide them to process the development of their learning and their experience. Then Piaget's philosophy can be incorporated into any education program. So when you say any education program, including nursing. So there is providing chance for trial and error, focus on the process of learning versus end result. Okay, this is applicable in the nursing procedures in nursing, in our SKL. Then providing children with visual aids and other props like models to illustrate different ideas and concepts. That's why we are creating PowerPoint presentation, we create models, we have mannequins to help you visualize the learning needed by student nurse. Using real example to paint complex ideas like word problem in math. In nursing, we always put situation or clinical samples or clinical case study so that students will learn more and more about different cases in example in surgery or in medicine. Providing chances to classify groups information outlines a great hierarchy, a good example, and allow kids to build new ideas from previous knowledge. That's why our knowledge in nursing has been conceptualized. Sometimes we put it in the box or in what you call this, in tables for you to be guided. Then offering problems that can necessitate analytical or logical thinking, brain teaser can be used as a tool in this instance. Next, you can also help the child throughout the stages by catering to their specific learning style at the time. Sensorimotor, they use real object and play activities. So you will not get the attention of children in this level without playing because everything on them is about object. If they see an object, then they will participate. That's why every healthcare professional, they use their stethoscope as a form of play. Okay, they do not go directly into nursing intervention, not unless they get the attraction or the perception of the child or to get their attention using other object. Some doctor brings a toy when they are talking with children. Connect play to five senses, okay? Sometimes we need to get the attention or to catch their five senses in order to cooperate with us. Then implement routines for the youngest children. They are predictable and way be highly useful with developing communication. So to get their attention or to participate in other activities or routine activities in the house or in the management of care for the patient, you must develop a play in order to get their communication. Like this mother, okay, he put her mask also and the mask of the child and teach the proper way of sanitizing the hand. Then Preoperational. In this stage, children learn best by doing. So, without doing, they will not learn. So, allow them to actively participate or interact with variety of things in their environment, including books, people, games, and objects. In here, they use samples. Imagine the mother taught the young so that the eldest boy participate or see how they are doing. Ask questions while children are engaged in daily routines and allow them to come up with their own ideas. So questioning and talking or communicating with children are very important so that you will know their ideas while doing things. Okay? So that's why when are you okay? Is that good? Is it ideal? You can ask the children like that using open-ended question. Point out new things and encourage children to question you about those things. Next, concrete operational. So, create timelines, three-dimensional models, science experiment, and other way to manipulate abstract concept. So, in here, children should be started developing their abstract reasoning. Okay, solve simple problems, mathematicals or simple problems in the house. Okay, how to put things in organize as form of brain teaser and riddles to foster analytical thinking. Okay, riddles is bugtong, I think. Then help them to solve problems or allow them to solve problems at their own level. Then focus on open-ended question. So simplify the question with either yes or no or simple question where only one word could be an answer. Because in here, the children could not explain well. Then formal operational, this is your stage in which some of them are 18 years old or 16 or 15 years old. Offer step-by-step explanation of concept and utilize charts and other visual aids. That's why when we are teaching students like you, we offer the different step-by-step explanation like about the nursing skills that we are trying to teach you. Okay, we have checklists so that you could follow. We have charts, we have PowerPoint, we have videos or visual aids to present to you so that you will utilize your formal operational thinking and development. Then next, explore hypothetical situation. You may relate them to your current event or social issues so that we can easily identify the content or ideas in your mind or to be able for us to determine your ideas. That's why some of you are being questioned during discussion. Broaden concept whether possible. For example, if talking about the Civil War, this is in America, discuss other issues that have divided the country since that time. So, the concept of civil war must not focus only on the civil war itself, but the reason why civil war occur. By discussing that to your age in the formal operational stage, you can easily determine the knowledge they have or what had been developed in their thought. In the cons Paget theory, the cons is the disadvantages. There are some criticism of Paget stage. In the particular, researchers in the 1960s and 1970s argued that Piaget may have underestimated children's abilities by using confusing terms and particularly difficult tasks in his observation. So it means that the Piaget's observation is not enough because of the underestimated children's abilities. and some of them are confusing in terms. In other studies, children have been successful with demonstrating knowledge of certain concepts or skills when they are presented in simpler way. Next, Piaget's theory also expects children of certain stage to primarily be at the stage across the board with all tasks presented to them. Other researchers uncovered that there are a range of abilities with cognitive tasks. In other words, some children may excel or struggle in one area or another. And next is, Piaget's theory also explains that trying to teach children particular advantage concept would be unsuccessful. Yet in some cases, children may be able to learn advanced ideas even with brief instruction. Children may be more adaptable and competent than Piaget's stage gave them the credit for. So it means that there are some children also excel even if it's not on the level of Piaget's theory. And another thing, last pages primarily examined white middle-class children from developed countries in his work. As a result, this finding may be skewed to this subset of people and may not apply directly to other groups of location. Based on the examined by Paget, the only white people are being observed as part of the study and in the developed countries. He did not include the underdeveloped countries and the black people. So meaning it only focuses on certain group and therefore it might not be applicable to other group of people. So let's proceed with the Paget's and versus Vygotsky's analysis and theory. So let's Vygotsky developed his theory on child development at the same time Paget was developing his own theory. So sabay sila nag-develop ng theory. So like Paget's Vygotsky believed that children develop through stages, unlike Paget's Vygotsky believed that learning and development were tied to social interaction and culture. Whereas Paget believed that children learn through doing. Vygotsky believed that they learn through being shown. Okay? So this is the contradictory between Paget's and Vygotsky. In Paget's, it is learning through doing, while Vygotsky learn through being shown. Okay? In nursing, like in nursing, we always taught you, we shown you how to do something like assessment of the skin. We taught you how to assess the skin and you learn from that. Okay? But part of the learning through being shown, you will also learn through doing. That's why there is a return demo. In nursing, we applied both. Learn through being shown and learn through doing. So here is the originator of those concepts. Jean Piaget is more on the stage of cognitive development theory, while Lev Vygotsky is more on socio-cultural cognitive development theory. Piaget versus Montessori. We all know the Montessori school. He's the author of this school. Maria Montessori shared some ideas with Piaget, including how children move through stages. Their theories are similar until reach age 3. In school, Montessori classrooms are more child-directed. That is in Montessori, child-directed. While Piaget classrooms are more on teacher-directed with focus on routine through their flexibility and opportunity for child-directed activities. So that's the difference between Montessori and Piaget. Then, here is the key points for Montessori. You can read all these things. Okay, that would be your assignment. And here is the background of Maria Montessori. She is a physician that that conducted study in Italy, studying children and their nature. So, what would be the conclusion on the Piaget's cognitive learning theory? So, Jean Piaget's work has helped people understand how knowledge is developed at the different stages of childhood, starting at birth. His philosophy is still used in prekindergarten throughout 12-year grade classroom today. Understanding the different stages may help you better understand children and assist their learning development. So this is needed at your level. It's because the first exposure you will do in nursing is in pediatric. Okay? In NICU. So at least by today, you can grasp the opportunities of being a professional nurse and hope some of you will choose the pediatric department for their service. I like children, but I don't like the pediatric area. It is because there are difficulties of when we are giving or rendering nursing care, like giving medication. They are too delicate when you are inserting needle to their body, when you are putting IV fluids. I cannot bear penetrating children using needles. So, by, but my expertise is in emergency room and surgery, and in caring for elderly. So that is my forte. Yun ang aking mga exposure, including community health. So, types and lifespan of development. So, it is include physical development, cognitive development, personality development, and social development. And here is the things you need to better understand. All this one, that would be an assignment for you to read and analyze and memorize, including the major issues in lifespan development. It has been tabulated for you to better understand. And the Freud and Erikson theories, this is, you must better understand all these things. I leave it to you to determine the Freud's stage of psychosexual development, the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. While in Erikson, it is up to the late adulthood, trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, industry versus identity versus role diffusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, and ego integrity versus despair. And here is the positive and negative outcomes according to Erickson's stages. And you must analyze and understand this one because most of them are appearing in the board exam. Then here also you need to memorize this concept, the major proponent, who is the author of psychodynamic, the behavioral, cognitive, Jean Piaget, humanistic, okay? Then contextual, Lev Vygotsky, evolutionary, okay? So all those things you need to memorize, understand it by heart. Okay, here is the Piaget stages of development. Okay, this is additional for better understanding of what we tackle today. Okay, I put it and arrange it in tabulated form so that you will easily understand the concept. Then Erickson's psychosocial stages of development. Okay, this is an addition to those mentioned earlier. So trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame. Okay, what is the significant person, infancy, until late adulthood. So maladaption, when you say maladaption, this is the negative effect if we did not properly integrate the trust, the autonomy, the initiative, the industry, the ego identity, intimacy, generativity, and integrity. And malignant, this is the bad result. Okay? So disdain, rejectivity, inclusion, repudiation, inertia, inhibition, compulsive, and withdrawal. But the virtue that must be developed is hope for infancy, willpower in autonomy, courage in initiative, competency in industry, fidelity in ego identity, love for intimacy, care in generativity, and wisdom. Okay? So, these stages will help you analyze the different behavior of all person, why they are over-trusting, while some of you are impulsive. It is because autonomy is not being achieved during early age. Okay, that's why some of you are impulsive buyer. They buy and buy without knowing the use of those things. Makikita mo na lang yung lahat ng binili naka-display lang, hindi ginagamit because na-develop sa kanila impulsive, because they were not being taught how to become independent or yung autonomy. So compulsiveness yan. But if you are being taught using the proper autonomy during early childhood, then you will have a willpower in yourself today. Okay? So this is the significance of each part of the Erickson psychological stage. And you need to better understand that so that you could apply in your patient. So developmental tasks, okay, you need to read that. Some of them will be taken in your prelim exam. Then, this is the stages of psychological development, psychosocial development. And here is the Erickson stage of psychosocial development. Okay, just repeated. Okay, what happens at this stage? This is the characteristic. Okay, that you need to see in the Erickson stage of psychosocial development. And assignment, you need to determine the 3 phases of learning: dependence, independence, and interdependence. So your reply to this assignment will be sent to the comments. Thank you and God bless you. I hope you learned something. So if you want to further see the reference, this is the reference. So thank you and God bless you. I hope you review this so that you will learn something from this PowerPoint. At this moment, I hope I will not be admitted today because I will undergo certain surgical procedures.